And we're walking in, and hello everybody, we're live. Hello, hey, how's everybody today?
Good.
Steve?
Very well.
Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, very well, very well.
All good.
Yeah.
Right, let's get cracking for everybody that's going to join us tonight. We want to have a quick chat about the Kickstarter to start us off. Steve?
We go into production with the Alamo tomorrow. So we've got the
behind
planning blocks are all in place. So we're going to work through it over the next 3 weeks is the plan. And we're going to fulfill it as we go. So we're just as we do chunks of them, we'll just fulfill them. So people will send an update out tomorrow, and people will get notifications, and we'll just work through them as quick as we can. But the estimate is about 3 weeks to go through the lot of them. So yeah,
excellent. And of course, with that in process, we're still busy with everybody else's stuff. Harry, what have you been up to this week?
A million to one different things, to be honest. Which, God, it's Thursday, isn't it? Crikey. I've been doing another video series.
What?
7 videos. I've started work on a sci-fi kit. That's going to be just some final photographs. I thought last week's thing about the crackle paint, I thought I'd use it for one of our sci-fi kits.
Works really well with those.
And working on.
Well, I think Steve surprised you with a little something. Have you sent something his way?
Yeah, we've sent a new little fantasy ship boat down. So that's something new, which will be expanded upon, but it's just a little first kit.
So the first kit in perhaps the series.
Yeah. So that's a couple of them went out today, so they should be with Gary over the weekend.
Excellent. So this is part of the process, everybody. As we get a kit tested and prepared, Gary's designed it. We'll get it cut and tested with AJ. AJ will then wrap up a couple of them and send them back to Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, what do you do when you get them back, physical copies?
Well, first thing is, although everything's designed in 3 dimensions, it can be quite a myriad of lines all over the place. So sometimes I'll miss stuff here and there, and even when it's flatted out, AJ normally catches those. Comes to me for another test build where I'll test the design of it and the logic of the assembly of it, which although AJ does, then we'll have a chat about A, B's and C's and D's should be in K's and F's and G's. So then we'll modify the kit, and I'll then work through the instructions, and I'll test build the instructions against what's with me as well. So they work through it.
So after AJ's gone and made sure all the tags are how we want them, there's only 2 doors on the sheet, not 4.
You know about my numerology.
We know what you like. You'll get the sets, you'll test them, and that's when then, as you're building them, you'll do the instructions at that point.
Yeah. It literally, I'll work through both hand in hand the instructions and everything else. That's why I know about these sub-assemblies, about what you can paint, what you can't paint. And it's always quite good to do that. The one we did,
the new one, yes,
we launched last weekend. That was done the same way. That was built, tested, and any minor revisions we needed to do.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Very nice. For my blacksmith, my mole blacksmith, that is.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's a 2 or 3 way process, really, because I'll contact AJ and he'll modify bits at his end, because he's working on a cut file that doesn't affect the design, but he may have moved parts around that. Although I've sheeted it, he'll sheet it again to be a much more efficient cut. So there's that total iterative process always going on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So those little ships will be winging their way to you for a bit of a test build. So everybody look forward to seeing some more pictures of what we're talking about next week. In the meantime, we've got a new build series you mentioned at the beginning, a new build series for our video YouTubes. Can you tell us a bit about what we've got in store?
Let me change camera, maybe get a bit closer.
Cool.
It's a 3-in-1 build.
Interesting. So is this 3 kits?
It's the same kit.
It's the same kit?
It's the same kit, modified, or no, not even modified, just made in 3 different ways. Let me just, if I can, get to camera.
Yeah, just nice and slowly.
So
yeah.
this is, I'm just going to move myself.
Yeah.
You can see this is actually a paper print project as well.
There you go.
I'm going to pull out a bit as well.
Yeah, that's better. Oh, look at those.
So you've got printed papers, and that just shows you how you can use printed papers to create broken plaster, rips. And you mentioned last week, how do I make a hole in the plaster? By ripping. Effective enough for you, Rich?
That's perfect. That render's fallen away nicely, eh?
So the videos will show a little bit how to rip paper. There's a bit more in the book as well. But the idea of this is to show that you can have 3 different kits, or 3 kits of the same kit, looking very different. So this one again is printed paper. So this is basically the basic printed paper version.
Back away a bit, Gary.
Back away a bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at my screen at the same time. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's perfect.
Oh, so that's like a stone, sort of stone look, is it?
Yeah, that's just a stone print.
Great.
And then taking it further, this is a complete mixed media. So you've got the painted doors. There we go. It's like cutting your hair in a mirror.
Pull back, Gary. Pull back.
Yeah. So you've got the painted shutters, and you've got a painted wall. Now that was done with masking tape.
So you've masked off all the triangles and just painted.
Yeah. So, well, no. Basically, you put the red base down.
Oh, you've done it the other way, yes.
And then you mask up your timber frame, and then it's just dry brushed on top.
Yes.
So you get a completely different way of working, and it is pretty quick, but it does mean that, oh, sorry, get you all drunk. You can have all the little details. So that, you know, what it means is you can use 3 or 4 different thicknesses of tape.
Yeah.
To get more detail. And as the tape is flexible, you could do all the curved stuff. But as these are based upon Normandy buildings, it's very much a French,
the
extravagant woodwork.
Yeah.
And then I put a few.
Search for some of those period photos to really see any of those, because they're not many around now, are there?
There's a lot more than you think, actually.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. But they're all snuck away in little villages and things, probably like ours, hidden away.
Hidden away. Yeah, got to tramp the countryside for those.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So that's going to be a new series, and we'll start seeing that probably early next week and into the weekend for YouTube fans. We'll show them probably on Facebook as we go as well, so everybody gets to see those, and they'll be available just like Build Series 1. And I suppose what we're doing here with the techniques is just expanding a bit more on your book, isn't it?
Yeah, it's either running through demonstrating a lot of techniques in these builds. So the book will go through piece by piece by piece each technique. And it's like the last one there, the timber frame one. There's dry brushing, there's tape masking up, there's paper printing, and there's ripped paper. So there's a lot of those put into one build. Yeah. And it just shows that you can get a lot more by just using all these different techniques all the time and choosing them. You don't always have to use them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, houses get done in mixed styles, don't they? You see them at certain times where a house built in a period copies a style from an earlier period, so it's got a bit of both, you know, because somebody liked the windows or you see so many fake timber frame buildings around, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And then that same building will have the windows taken out by somebody else and replaced.
Yeah, and stick some new lovely UPVC ones in.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Gary, can you tell us anything about the sci-fi that you were going to look at?
I'm taking a raw, long pod, the long one.
Yeah.
Bear with. And I'm just working up in a very simple fashion. This is a base coat of white for the interior parts, base coat of red for the outside. But I'm going to be using, you can see there's bits glued off all over, there's scrap everywhere all over it.
Cool. So you're using all the offcuts and strap bits, yeah?
Yeah. And then I'm going to move bits around a bit. So where we normally have things like the door elements, bear with, sorry guys, sort of just stood there. I'm actually going to take one door element because of the pod and move it in.
Yes.
All right.
And use this one has subframes, so I'm going to put the subframes in so it becomes like a landing bay.
All right, so it's kind of a jet bike can slide straight in
Yeah,
there.
a little covered area, porch or whatever.
Yeah. So the landing area, I'll print off some tread plate, put some tread plate in there on the floors, and then I'm going to use the crackle paint technique last week that we showed just to distress the paintwork and then rust it up. So it's quite simple, and I'm waiting on some terrain tiles to then plant it in the middle of water, which is why you would need the landing bay.
Right. So really going down on this one.
It's all got the story again.
Story but simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, Dan. Fantastic. Right.
But, this isn't going to be a build series. This is just going to be a set of photographs of the final one.
Yeah.
And then we can just sort of, might even diagram it up, just explain stuff.
Yeah, get a bit of an article for everybody to take through on our blog page. Yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So, Steve, anything else we got cunningly tucked away?
We have. We've started working on some of the kits from the book, and a couple of those were part of ranges. So AJ's been last week, and this week he's actually been getting these prepped for production. So the full range. So there's is it about 16 kits in that one? Is it? Variants. There's variations and things.
It started at 15, and I added 2 last week.
Yeah. So yeah.
2 little extras. They fill in that core that we always have.
So one of the new ones is a windmill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one's like an intermediate farmhouse. So if you know the ancient Greek range, the 2-store floor building.
Yes.
I've based this one on. Ceiling's got a bit higher, a little bit more complex. There's a few stairs and things to it. So it's like an 1800 to the modern day version.
Yeah. We're working AJ quite hard at the moment because his first kid comes along in about a month's time. I think it was 4 weeks on Monday. So we're working him hard so that when he takes some time off,
you're not allowing him time off.
He's not getting a holiday that easy.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to answer. Ian McDonald's asked a question about whether I've always been this sexy or is it since lockdown. It's obviously always been like this because I'm from the East Coast and he's from the West Coast.
Absolutely. And
they obviously don't have mirrors in the East Coast.
And you're sporting a new Go Faster haircut.
That's it.
Just
my lockdown haircut is exactly the same as my normal haircut. So
just polishes up nicely.
Yeah, that's it.
Our lockdown haircuts are.
I do this all the time though. I get it cut, and then months go by, and then I go and get it cut when the crash helmet doesn't fit properly.
That's the one.
You look like you've still got your crash helmet on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, one of the other questions we have from last week, Steve, was about our lasers.
Yeah.
Can we mention anything on those? Or?
Yeah, we actually got 2 new lasers this week. So we've The oldest ones we've got are 10 years old, and they've been used pretty non-stop in that time, and technology's moved on, so we're in the process of upgrading them. So the ones that arrived were supposed to come about a month ago, but obviously things have slowed that down. So so they're installed and running, and actually that's first things that we get on them is the Alamo. So we'll get that done. So that's quite exciting.
Fantastic. So that's their job sorted.
That's their job. First job is get the Alamo done.
Mm.
I'm just running through any other questions here. Lots of good stuff. Oh, I think we've caught up with our questions.
Wow.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the questions died when Ian's came in.
Yeah.
We'll get better than that one.
Right, guys, your challenge out there this week is to come up with a really challenging question for us for next Thursday. So
we got one. We got a good one there.
That was an interesting question. There's been loads of things written on our lists. We have a list. We have a list that's about 560 kits long.
Yes.
In the background.
Yeah, I've seen some of that now.
Yeah. So there are things such as the airships and Victoriana stuff. It comes in. We have to then mix it all in. Yeah,
and that's partly why we ended up going with that Alamo as a Kickstarter, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah. The list. It doesn't matter how many we sort of finish off and release. It always seems to get a bit bigger, and if we're not thinking of things, people are asking for things. So the Kickstarter was one that we really wanted to do, and it was sort of kept getting pushed back. So it happened that way. But no, the list is ever expanding, and that's not including taking kits and changing scales on them. That's just new kits.
Yeah, that's just new stuff.
Yeah,
we've had actually quite a good one then from Adam. So asking about any other Arnhem buildings.
Yes, yeah, there's a bridgehead, isn't there?
Yeah, I remember this from back when that Warlord.
Yeah.
I can't even remember some of this stuff.
Yeah, there is. There's actually the whole half the bridge and the causeway and some bits and pieces around that. So yeah, that's there.
If Adam has a look at the Gaslamp Alley range, especially the townhouses, and you have a look at the fronts and the Art Nouveau style parts and pieces, they're actually based on quite a few of those that are around that end of the bridge. They're stylized for that purpose.
Yeah. Another question there is about doing Victorian sci-fi airships, things like that, as well as boats. And we have talked about airship type things and more sort of fantasy versions. We do some gunboats and ironclads from the sort of colonial American Civil War period, but they could quite easily be made into sort of World War I gunboats and things like that. The paddle steamers, as they are, wouldn't take much converting, would they?
Not so.
No.
Yeah. So no, I think boats. We quite fancy doing some more boats, don't we? We talked about this yesterday, didn't we? And the day before.
Yeah. There's a couple that are attached to a range that I know Rich is new. He's gleaning all these little links, and all I say is that if you can get on a boat or a plane and go there, we have something somewhere in the distance, long grass, that might relate to it. And so some of the boats we're into are connected to ranges, and it's a bit like with the one that Steve was talking about, is that we did the basic 13, 14, 15 kits, and I've just added another 2 to it, because when we come to release, it focuses the design mind and then the gaming mind and the modeling mind to what bits we might be missing. So there's a few boats.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a question here about our terrain tiles. So, Mr. Harrington says is playing with some ideas that need to fit across some multiple terrain tiles and allow the pieces to be reordered. It looks like the Alamo kit uses some of the same techniques. Are there any top tips in getting the ends of these pieces to line up neatly?
If you can line them up, you can line them up with a straight line. As long as your fixing's right. I think if you've got, I discussed this with somebody to do with the Palisades. If you take your tiles and lay them out, and then lay out the Palisade on them, it doesn't matter if a section overlaps a tile, but if you get the joining right, you come to a point on a corner and you just make sure the corners are sort of sitting in the right place on the tiles, and then the straights will link in with them, and you can work it that way. The maths of the straights might mean that you have to have certain length straights, but you could not fix down certain ones as well, couldn't you? You could glue them, fix them so they sit across two, but they're only fixed to one, and then you can slide them in. So the best thing to do to plan out something like that might fix on a few is to actually just sit them all out on the tiles, glue nothing down, see how they sit, and then adjust the positioning of them to sit best for the joins. Without overcomplicating how they actually.
I think the other thing is on the March Attack Facebook page, you have to try. I reposted it not long ago, which somebody was asking about how to line up roads and get a datum point, and why we don't mark out X's and Y's all over the. Of course, that just adds to the cost of the tiles themselves. For something that's simple, people go, it's just simple MDF, and then you put all that on it, and price goes up. But there is a little photo shoot of how you can really simply find the center and the datum point, so that if you are trying to place things, once you've found the center datum point, you can then actually measure things quite simply out. And I mean, much of the walls and palisades and things we do are all set within 5, 7.5 and 10 centimeter lengths, so that they will modularize, because it does look like the tiles aren't 200 by 200, but the actual datum point is with the wiggle that meet is, and it's not the overall size that you're dealing with.
If you take something that's at a 50 mil or 100 mil repeat or 200 mil, you can, if you get it central, the tiles will work and they'll just sit square against each other, so they don't have to have, your terrain piece doesn't need to have a wiggly edge up a wall.
Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. I'm following. It's a bit like when I do my modular terrain tables, where you have roads running across, you make sure they hit at a certain point, and in much the same way, that's what we're talking about, isn't it?
We'll share the video on towers as well, because it's a good video and it's really simple. You just use tiles against each other to mark points, and once you've got a couple of points marked, you've got your center line. And then
let's do it as a video, because it's a photo shoot at the moment, which is cool. I can take, if I can find the photos, we can pull those apart and do a little
video
leaflet jobby.
We could do it with some palisades. We can take some palisades as well and just show how they can sit together.
Because
it kind of crosses over to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, about the fact that when you're planning the tiles around bigger pieces like bigger buildings, you don't actually have to have a tile that's the size of the building. You can just use small ones to frame around the edge and support it.
Speaking of the small ones, one of the questions we had come through there was about, can we order them individually, the different sizes individually?
At the moment, no. There's a couple of small packs, top-up packs. I suppose there's not really any reason. It's just easier to do them in packs. But yeah, I mean, we do have. If somebody wanted a couple of odd ones, they could just give us a shout. We could sort that out, because they're just in big piles, and we make the packs up from the singles anyway. So yeah.
from the packs being more efficient to build and make effectively, isn't it? So
yeah, they're done in packs just because it adds it. They're done to be sort of 2-foot areas and things like that, and then there's a couple of really small packs that are just there if somebody just wants a few tiles to do something. So I think there's a pack that's got like 8 of the smallest tiles in it, another pack that's got 4 of the big the 200 mil ones. So, but yeah, it's like anything. If somebody needs a part or something, just give us a shout. We can sort things like that out.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, guys. I think it's probably time we wrap things along. So, anything last minute, Gary?
I don't think so. No.
Right.
Just keep thinking of questions and post them up or email them over, and we can line them up.
Them up. And Steve?
No, I'm good. I'm looking forward to starting to cut the Alamo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looking forward to some updates for everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do an update, and I'll get some. So we'll cut a ribbon as we press the button.
Hey, cool. We need to make pictures of that up. We'll see some ships next week, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody else back here to see us again Thursday, usual time. So from me, from you guys, and to you, all of you, keep safe.
Yeah, keep safe, keep distant.
Yeah, stay safe, guys, and we'll see you soon.